Listen well, all of you. I just saw Maleficent 2, Mistress of Evil, and I'm ready to talk about it. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil is the sequel to Maleficent, the live action with Angelina Jolie and Elle Fanning, and I want to start by saying that I loved the first one. I thought they did a really great job with it. I love Angelina Jolie as Maleficent, even though I don't particularly care for her. I loved her in this role, so I was really excited for number 2 in the series. And I would 100% recommend you see that movie before you try to see this movie. I don't know why you wouldn't, but I feel like I need to say it because some people just don't. So, Mistress of Evil. What I'm gonna do, it's gonna be normal movie review. I'll talk non-spoilers and then we'll go into a little bit of spoilers because, yeah, let's just do it. So this movie, as we see in the trailer, so I'm not giving anything away, Aurora gets engaged to Prince Philip. So we're meeting the two families. This movie, compared to the first one, is not as fun and lighthearted. This one, it's a little more scary, has a little more mature themes and action sequence to it. I don't think it's great for little kids. It was just very dark and all the characters were dark and it did not have the same vibe as the first one. I didn't love this movie. I love most movies. This one just, something was off about it. It starts off meeting the families and then we have the drama and then the action sequence at the end. It was a lot. This movie was a lot coming at you. There was a lot of fight scenes. There was a lot of characters and a lot going on. So Maleficent and Aurora are back with a few little side characters. They try to introduce us to some new characters on the moor, and I didn't really connect with a lot of them. Prince Philip's family, they are definitely fun. I don't want to say fun, I'm gonna say more interesting characters. Anyways, there's just a lot going on. So if you liked the first one, I think you should see the second one. If you haven't seen the first one, don't see this one. If you're not super into seeing this one, I don't think you're gonna really miss out on anything, so you could skip it. So that's basically all I can say without spoilers. So this is the spoiler section. Spoilers, go away if you don't want to hear what happens. If you've already seen it and want to talk about it, stay. If you don't care, stay. Because this is the spoiler section. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this movie in 3 parts. So the first part is boring. I think it's really boring. Like, okay, it's super predictable. Aurora's gonna get engaged, we're gonna meet the family, that's all we knew was coming, right? So then Maleficent, in kind of like a true mom style, is like, no one's good enough for her. I don't know this kid. I don't want them to get married. And you're like, okay, whatever. Classic kind of mom. You know, there's some things happening on the moor, like the missing fairies and that people that are coming to steal stuff, like you knew that flower was gonna come back at the end. Anyway, so it's kind of slow. They're not really finishing anything. So then we kind of get to the middle of the movie. So this is part 2, when all the families are meeting. I don't know about you guys, but I knew from the trailer that the Michelle Pfeiffer character was gonna be the bad guy. Like just the look on her face and her evil queen crown and costumes, I just knew she was gonna be the bad guy. I was not surprised by that part of it whatsoever. I knew she somehow cursed the king and was trying to blame it on her. Like, I just knew that all was happening. So then they have that whole scene where Maleficent gets shot and saved by this mystery creature. So turns out there's all these other kind of fairy folk that are Maleficent's species, I guess you call it, and they've been living in this very like How to Train Your Dragon world in peace and harmony, but they feel like, you know, they live in a cave. I get it. So it was really nice. I'm like, oh, fun new characters. And they make the one guy, of course, be like all rough and tough, and then the one like Rafiki-esque character. And so she's learning about the existence of more of her kind, which was interesting. And like, I think she really kind of wanted that, but then something is happening in the more, and I know that she knows something is happening with Aurora, so she goes back. That does not go well. And of course, her mentor guy dies and straight up rips off a quote from Lion King as she's like dying and holding her hand, like, remember who you are. And I'm like, are we watching Lion King? I don't, like, why would you use such an iconic line in that moment? But I guess it worked, you know, because he's explaining the whole story of the Phoenix, which brings me to kind of the end where it's the wedding scene. Oh, so this is part 3. So there's part 3 that we're going to talk about, the wedding scene. So when all the more creatures go to the church, and I'm just like, I know what's gonna happen in all this, and I don't like it. Like, this is not my happy-go-lucky movie that I was kind of expecting to see. This was very dark, because I'm like, they're gonna kill all these characters. And they didn't kill all of them, but they certainly killed a lot of them, and they killed a lot of the Maleficent fairies. And I'm just like, this queen just wants to kill everybody and have only humans. I'm like, how did nobody see this coming? And like, I didn't like it. But as much as like all this didn't happening at the beginning in part 1, I'm like, I don't like this movie at all. In part 2, I'm like, oh no, like this is really dark, but like I understand what's happening. And then the end, when Maleficent comes back to save Aurora, is when I'm like, okay, I'm with you, movie. So I didn't really kind of connect with this movie until the very end, when she comes back for Aurora, dies, rises from the ashes as this phoenix bird thing. Then it's just happily ever after. I don't really know what else to say, because it's just, there was so much happening kind of like this, and I really just wanted it to kind of happen like in waves, 3 waves of this movie, but it just kind of didn't. That being said, there were a handful of things that I loved about this movie. Number 1 being the costumes. The Queen's costumes were fantastic. Aurora's outfits were very like whimsical, and then her wedding dress I really loved, and Maleficent had some really fun new dresses as well. I loved her wedding dress with the lace and the collars, and so costumes, A+ in this movie. Another scene that I really loved was with the 3 fairies in the church. Now, I hated these 3 fairies in the first movie. They were so dumb, and like, you just wanted to punch all of them. I mean, they were good characters, but you just wanted to punch all of them. So in this one, when they're in the church, all these creatures are dying, and the blue fairy sacrifices herself to kind of clog up the organ and save everyone else. I thought that was a spectacular moment, and how they kind of bring that back when Aurora's walking down the aisle and they're changing her dress from pink to green, and they're like, no, we're gonna make it blue for the fairy that died. I thought that that was a well wrapped up storyline. And another thing, visually I loved the castle. Prince Philip's castle is just spectacular. And at the end, when all the flowers and vines are growing up it, I'm like, that is the castle I wish to live in. You know how people ask you, what Disney world would you want to live in? I'm all, this is the castle that I would like to live in. And then, of course, one of my favorite parts of the movie was the relationship between Aurora and Maleficent. That mother-daughter connection was just so solid by the end of this movie, and that's what I really wanted, because that was the twist in the first movie. That was kind of how the first movie left us, and then they break us in the beginning of this one, but they bring it back together, and that is what I really wanted out of this movie. So I guess that's probably why ultimately I liked this movie. Everything else is what I didn't love. I don't really want to give it I'm not giving it 2 thumbs up. I don't even really want to give it 1 thumbs up. It's kind of like a half thumb, but if they made a 3rd one, I feel like they would fix a lot of these mistakes. So I guess I'm hoping for a 3rd one. That is my review of Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. I hope you guys get to go see it, because it is, it's a nice, entertaining movie, but beware, it is dark. My name's Aubrey. I make new videos every Thursday, so make sure you subscribe and follow me on all my social media, and I will see you guys next week for Halloween! Wow, Halloween. One thing I really did not like is when they change actors for characters. So this was obviously not the Prince Philip from the first movie, and I knew it and I didn't like it.